What's going on, guys, and welcome to another First Look episode. And today we're looking at Suzuki's brand new for 2017 GSX 250R. Yes, Suzuki is finally getting into the small displacement sport, and I'm using air quotes with that, game. Now, to be honest, I was a little frustrated when I first saw this bike because it is my opinion, at least here in the US, 250cc bikes are just not enough power to be very useful on our roadways. But before I go into this, let's look at some specs. So this little guy is putting out 24.7 horsepower at 8,000 RPMs and has 17.3 foot-pounds of torque, and that's hitting at 6,500 RPMs. These are Suzuki claim numbers, by the way. It's got a seat height of 31.1 inches and a curb weight of 392.4 pounds. So what do these numbers mean? Well, let's compare that to some of its counterparts. The Kawasaki Ninja 300 has 38.89 horsepower with 19.91 foot-pounds of torque. Compare both of those with my personal favorite, Yamaha's R3. That has 42 horsepower and 21.18 foot-pounds of torque. Now, I do realize both bikes I compared, the Suzuki 2, are slightly bigger displacements, it being a 250 and them being a 300 or a 320 in the case of the R3. But that should speak to the market trend. All I'm saying is there's a reason Kawasaki moved from making Ninja 250s to 300s, and now there's even talk of them ditching the 300 and doing something bigger than that. Based on these numbers, I'm personally a little worried that the GSX 250R isn't going to have enough power, at least like I said here for the US market. Another more similar comparison I can put up against the GSX 250R is Honda's CBR 300R. Even though it's a 300, the stats, as you can see here on the screen, are much closer to Suzuki's, and after doing a first ride on the CBR 300, I just felt like it didn't have enough engine to ride around here on the roads. I will say it does have a nice 4-gallon gas tank that, paired with what Suzuki calls a highly effective power plant, gives this bike a pretty nice estimated 250 miles on a full tank, which equates to about 76 miles per gallon. That's a little more than the 3.7 gallons you get on the R3. I guess the takeaway from this is that, hey, it might be slow, but at least you can ride it forever. Speaking of this highly effective power plant, which, can we all just agree it means slow as hell? I mean, a Toyota Prius has a highly effective power plant. Anyway, back to the engine. It's supposed to be tuned for low to mid-range torque, which means the power's going to die off really early in the rev ranges. They also say the throttle response should be very linear and that the camshaft profiles maximize engine performance when riding between 15 miles per hour and 55 miles per hour. I don't know if that's even going to be noticeable on a 250cc bike, but I can tell you right now that's definitely something I'm going to be looking for when I'm doing the first ride on this thing. As far as comfort and seat height goes, I can honestly say, based on what I've seen, it should be a pretty good option for smaller riders. They have a narrow tank design, making it easier to flat-foot the bike, and it has a seat height of 31.1 inches, which is a pretty good height. I'm a pretty big fan of the seat height on the other Suzuki models, and the GSX R600 actually has a seat height of 31.89 inches, so it's not too much taller than the 250. So for the instrument panel, they went with a reverse lit LCD screen. This is going to be a pretty typical looking dash, including the odometer, tachometer, and a couple trip meters. I will say I was happy to see that they actually included a fuel gauge and a service reminder though. Those are things you don't often see on the lower cost bikes, so I will give them credit for that. Finally, that brings us to price and options. The bike's costing $44.99 MSRP here in the States. I'd say that's pretty competitive for the other lower displacement counterparts. Here are the other prices for them. Honda's coming in at $4,399, Kawasaki's up there at $4,999, and Yamaha's right behind them with $4,990. As you can see, Honda still holds the top spot for the cheapest lower displacement sport bike. Based on the pricing, I'm still a little worried that it's going to ride like the Honda because the pricing is so similar. If you're curious how I felt about the CBR 300 after doing a first ride on it, I'll leave a link to that video in the description. As far as options go for the GSX 250R, it's going to come in either black or white, and there is not going to be any ABS model as far as I can tell. Overall guys, I gotta be honest, I'm a little worried about this bike. From what it looks like, it's a low cost, low performing bike even for the small engine class. At the end of the day, specs don't mean much, and I have been proven wrong with specs before, so I'll hold my opinions until after I get a first ride in on this little guy. Speaking personally, I feel like if Suzuki wanted some of the lower engine game, they really should have put out a 350 or do similar to Yamaha with their 320cc R3. They've had time to watch Kawasaki, who were the only ones in the small cc game for a while, and it boggles my mind that they wouldn't learn from them and go with a slightly bigger engine. At least that's my thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think about Suzuki's GSX 250R, or what they call on their site, the Katana 250, in the comments below. I'm interested to see if you guys agree with the 250s don't really fit well here in America. If you're curious about how the first ride went on this bike, check the description. Once I do the first ride on this bike, I'll definitely be dropping that video in the links down below. And guys, if you found this video helpful or enjoyed it, dropping a like would be absolutely fantastic. And if you did like this video, consider subscribing. I'm Chase, and I'll see you guys in the next video that'll be on a Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday, like every single week. You guys ride safe, and I'll see you later.